With 2 weeks left to go and a lot of information left to gather, we're going to play a fun little game, a Bills edition of Would You Rather. Welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to a special edition of Believers Talk, where we take a look at our Buffalo Bills and ask ourselves, who would we rather play in the playoffs? Again, with 2 weeks left to go in the season, the AFC side still undecided as far as seeding goes. We know our Bills are going to be in the playoffs, but they could be a 2 seed, a 3 seed, or a 5 seed. They can't be a 4 seed or a 5 seed, and that obviously changes things for this team. I want to know who you guys would want to play out of these possible scenarios. I'm going to break down these scenarios for you, talk about each team we could potentially play, some pros and cons for each, and then also give you my listing of who I would want to play in the order I'd want to play them heading into those weeks. Before we do that, however, I want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, guys. Hit that subscribe button for continual Buffalo Bills and Buffalo sports news. I know we're in the middle of a heated NFL season. The Buffalo Bills, of course, in the playoffs. We believe in our Buffalo Bills, but as soon as the season is over, I might do some live streams of the Sabres games. We'll keep you updated on the Bandits and the Bulls. The Buffalo Bulls are playing a game, the bowl game, this Friday. Make sure you catch that, because the Bulls have never won a bowl game in their history, so it'll be awesome to see them do that tomorrow. But we will be keeping you updated on all Buffalo sports, so hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment. Let me know who you would rather play in these scenarios. Again, we're going to go through each and every scenario for the Buffalo Bills heading into the playoffs. Again, can't be worse than a 5 seed, can work their way all the way up to a 2 seed. We need things to go their way, but these things can happen. Of course, it all starts this Saturday against the New England Patriots. Guys, watch Believers Talk this Saturday as I do live play-by-play and reaction to the game between the Patriots and our Buffalo Bills. But in order for the Bills to become a 2 seed, they would have to win out, right? And the Patriots would have to lose out. Obviously, we know that. That's what the scenario is for the Bills to win the AFC East. And the Chiefs would have to lose one of their 2 remaining games, whether it be this week against the Chicago Bears on Sunday night, the Bears, or it be the following week. If the Chiefs lose one of their remaining games and the Bills win out and the Patriots lose out, the Bills become the 2 seed. If the Bills win out and the Patriots lose out and the Kansas City Chiefs win both their games, then the Buffalo Bills fall to the 3 seed. If we lose to the Patriots, we can't do any better or any worse than the 5 seed. Or if we beat the Patriots, but they beat Miami week 17, or we lose to the Jets week 17, then we would be the 5 seed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down into 2 separate categories. Obviously, in the game of Would You Rather, if I gave you the choice between the 2nd, 3rd, or 5th seed, we're all choosing that 2nd seed, right? We're going to take the bye week. We're going to take home field advantage in the divisional round. We're going to take all that. But I'm going to take that off the table. We know we need to get the 2nd overall seed, so that's one category. I'm going to split this up into 2 categories, and the first category is what teams can we play if we win the division, and the second category is going to be what teams would we play or could we play if we make it as a wild card team. So I'm going to break it down into those categories. Each category has 3 different teams, so there'll be 3 options. Again, after this video, you guys let me know how you would rank them if you had your choice. I rank them according to what I would like as well, so let me know if you agree with me or disagree with me. So first, we're going to start if we clinch the division, if we win the AFC East and become the number 3 overall seed. Who could we wind up playing, and who would I rather face? So the 3 teams we can wind up playing if that happens, and guys, there are scenarios where like the Browns, these teams at 6 and 8 could still potentially get in, but they're such a long shot, I did not include them in this video. But the 3 teams we realistically have a chance to play if we're the 3 seed are the Steelers, the Texans, and the Titans. Those would be the 3 teams. We can't play New England because New England can't finish worse than the 5 seed. 3 plays the 6, so those would be the 3 potential teams we could play heading into the wild card weekend of the NFL playoffs. So I'm going to list these in order at first, give you my pros and cons for each team, and then I'm going to let you my order, how I would play it out if I could, which team I would rather play, who would I rather play if this scenario were to play out. So first we look at the Steelers. Why would we want to play the Steelers? Well, first of all, we just beat the Steelers, right? Week 15, Sunday Night Football in Pittsburgh. We beat the Steelers. This one would be in Buffalo. I feel like the momentum would be on our side. You look at this offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, just not a playoff NFL offense. It's just not. And, whether you blame injury or whether you blame just an inept offense, either way, you don't have a playoff caliber offense as long as Duck Hodges is your quarterback. We saw what we did against Duck Hodges on Sunday Night Football. Now, the difference in this game is the Steelers would probably have Juju Smith-Schuster back, but how is the camaraderie between him and Duck Hodges heading into that game? That would be something worth discussing as well as that game were to come up. But those would be the two reasons why I would want to play the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you talk about reasons not to play the Steelers might look at this as a revenge game, right? We beat them in their home. They want to beat us in our home. So you got to look at that as a factor. You look at playoff experience. So think about Tomlin sitting there at the head coach. Lots of playoff experience. You look at Coach McDermott, 0-1 in the playoffs, making the playoffs his first year, losing to the Jaguars. Damon put up an offensive touchdown in that game. So you do have to think that would matter entering the playoffs. Talking about Mike Tomlin's playoff experience. They have a good running attack. I know we stopped him to 50 yards rushing, but Connor is pretty good, and he can definitely break some things open. And then, of course, this defense is a top-level defense. And how do you win football games in January? You win with defense and a running game. The Steelers can check off both of those boxes. They have both those things. So those are the reasons why we would not want to play the Steelers. Go down to the Texans. Why would we want to play the Texans? At home, it would be a great atmosphere. They normally play in a dome, right? They'd be traveling up to Buffalo, different time zone, and a little bit colder weather, right? So you would imagine that weather might play a factor when you talk about Deshaun Watson, when you talk about DeAndre Hopkins, when you talk about this all-power elite offense. They might be slowed down because they might have to rely on the rushing attack. Now, the rushing attack, and we'll get to this as to the reasons why we don't want to play them, the rushing attack is currently 7th in the league, but we are better. The Buffalo Bills are better, and we can maintain time possession. I think that's why we would want to play them. Their record against teams out of their division is 5-4. They do well against divisional teams. Currently, think they're 4-1 or something like that. But they're 5-4, about a little better than 500 out of their division. So obviously, they have a tough time playing teams not in their division, teams that they're not familiar with. And the Texans are not familiar with the Buffalo Bills. Another good thing about playing the Texans would be the Texans have the fewest sacks among all the AFC playoff teams, right? They have got the fewest sacks in the season among all the AFC playoff teams. We know that Josh Allen sometimes struggles under pressure, but this team isn't known for getting pressure on the quarterback. Why would we not want to play the Texans? Well, you talk about those sack numbers, that could change because if they make the playoffs, you're talking about possibly getting J.J. Watt back, right? J.J. Watt coming back would be a huge uplift for this Houston Texans team. So if he were to come back, I feel like that would bring a little more edge to the Houston Texans that we don't want to deal with in the wild card round. Another reason why we don't want to play them is names I've previously mentioned. Deshaun Watson, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller. This offense can light it up, and I know I trust our secondary to match up against anybody and our defense to match up against anybody. But that doesn't mean if we can avoid them, we don't want to. This offense, again, is pretty explosive. Deshaun Watson able to make plays with his feet, so you always have to be ready for that. Again, I'm not saying we can't beat this team, but those are the reasons why you wouldn't want to play them come wild card weekend. Then the Titans, and again, guys, I'm talking about if the Buffalo Bills become the number 3 overall seed. We will talk about what happens, in my opinion, if they're the 5 seed in a minute, but right now we're talking about if they are the number 3 overall seed. We could play the Titans. Titans come in as a 6th seed as well, possibly beat Houston the last time they play them, and the Steelers would lose a game or two, and then they could become a 6th seed. The Texans can still win the division in that scenario. Why would we want to play the Texans? Well, there are a few reasons why we'd want to play the Texans. Talking about a familiarity with their starting quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. Remember, Ryan Tannehill, before Tennessee, played with the Miami Dolphins. Our defense has played against them a few times, so there's that familiarity right there. Weather could be a factor. You're talking about a team from Tennessee coming up north, playing in a cold January game in Buffalo. No one wants to come to Buffalo in January, play in that type of weather. We could have the advantage there. The Titans have been inconsistent all season, guys. That's why they're currently sitting as the 7th seed and sitting at 8-6, because they've been inconsistent all season. So we want them to come into Buffalo and prove that again. And then you look at earlier this year and even last year, Allen has played the Titans twice, and he's 2-0 against them in his career. Pretty good stats. We beat them in Tennessee earlier this season with Marcus Mariota as the quarterback. We beat them 14-7. Remember Duke Williams with that touchdown catch to win that game. We could beat them at home. Why wouldn't we want to play the Titans? I think some of these are pretty obvious, right? Derrick Henry. We know what Derrick Henry can do in a playoff atmosphere when he turns it on. We saw what happened 2 years ago when the Titans made the playoffs and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs in an upset in Wild Card Weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if they pulled off something like that again in this season if they make the playoffs, and that's why I would be afraid to play him. You're talking about the 8th best running attack in the NFL, and plus you know that they would be hot, right? They're going to play the Saints. They're going to play the Texans. Even if they just beat the Texans the last week of the season in Houston and they make the playoffs that way at 9-7, they feel confident in their game going into that game against anybody but against the Buffalo Bills, even if that game was in Buffalo. So out of these 3 teams, the Steelers, Texans, Titans, how would you rank them? Who would you rather play if given the option? My number 1 is a team that we just beat on Sunday Night Football. I look at Duck Hodges and say there's no way I can trust him to win a playoff game. We would commit more or make them commit more turnovers just like we did this past Sunday to get into the playoffs. I think of all these 3 teams, the one I would want to face the most would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 2 on my list would be the Houston Texans, guys. I think we match up well against the Texans. I think when you're talking about a good passing offense, that fits right into our game. I know they have a decent run offense as well. I think currently ranked 7th in the NFL. But since they're coming up north, they're used to playing in a dome. I think I like playing the Texans as well. Then 3rd on this list, if there was one team I wouldn't want to play, that would be the Tennessee Titans. I think we could beat the Titans. In fact, I think we could beat all 3 teams on this list, but if I could avoid playing the Titans in the first round, again, we saw what happened 2 years ago against Kansas City when they upset them. I think they could do the same thing here. Derrick Henry should not be messed with. He's a tough guy to bring down, and he's a type of pounded running back that the Bills have had trouble with in the past. So those are my 3 in order. If you gave me these 3 teams and said, who would you rather play? The Steelers would be my number 1 choice. Let me know in the comment section if you agree with that. If the Bills win the division, would you like to see the Steelers in the first round of the playoff in that 3-6 matchup? Now let's go on to if the Buffalo Bills lose to the Patriots or lose to the Jets or the Patriots beat the Dolphins, then we would be the number 5 overall seed. And guys, things change a little bit if we're the 5 seed. There are 3 teams still that we could potentially play. 2 that we listed earlier, the Texans and Titans, both could still win the AFC South and surpass the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you got the Kansas City Chiefs as a potential option as well, who could drop down to the 4 seed if the Texans or Titans were to pass them for the 3 seed. So you look at the Chiefs, Texans, or Titans. Most likely we're going to be playing the Texans or Titans no matter what, right? I mean, you look at these scenarios and you say, hey, the team that we're most likely to play is going to be the Texans or Titans, but that is not necessarily the teams I would want to play as I go through this listing. So we can't play the New England Patriots because they at worst would be a 3 seed. They can't drop to a 4 seed, and we would be at worst a 5 seed. So that 3-6 matchup would be Patriots for somebody else. That 4-5 matchups would put us against either the Texans or Titans. We can't play Baltimore because at worst they could be is a 3 seed as well. So that's why we can't play either of those 2 teams in these scenarios. But you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, why would we want to play the Kansas City Chiefs? Going into Kansas City doesn't sound like a lot of fun. This offense looks pretty dang good. So why would we want to play the Kansas City Chiefs in the first round of the playoffs? I think our defense can neutralize that passing attack. Patrick Mahomes, you talk about Travis Kelce, you talk about how good this defense is against opposing tight ends. We allowed that 1 touchdown in Baltimore in a blown coverage. I don't think that would happen again. You look at their wide receivers, you got Tyreek Hill and you got Sammy Watkins. Not bad, but I think our corners and our safeties can keep up with them. And then you look at the rushing attack led by LaShawn McCoy, currently 25th in the league. So when you're talking about a team that the Bills would want to play, you're talking about a team that has a high-power passing attack, because we would neutralize that, and are not that great at running the ball, which fits the Kansas City Chiefs mold pretty good. And plus, the Chiefs are 11th versus the run, okay? So they are the worst defense out of these three teams when it comes to playing against the run. So those are some of the reasons why you would want to play the Kansas City Chiefs. Why don't we want to play the Kansas City Chiefs? I think it's obvious, right? We don't want to go to Kansas City. It would be a pretty... the Bills have only played one game out of the Eastern time zone this season. The last thing you want to do is go out of the Eastern time zone in the first round of playoffs, if you can avoid it. Plus, another reason why we know we don't want to play the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is an former last year MVP, and there were talks of him being an MVP candidate again at certain times this season. Just a really good quarterback who can really make things happen again, both with his feet and with his arms. So you don't want to play him if you don't have to. Best home field advantage out of the three teams I mentioned that we could play at home between the Chiefs, Texans, and Titans. I think the Chiefs have the best crowd out of those three teams, so that's another reason why you wouldn't want to play them. And one of the underestimated reasons why we won't want to play them, same thing I talked about with the Steelers, that playoff experience. Andy Reid might not be great at getting to the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl, but he's pretty good when it comes to an overall playoff record, taking his team, the Eagles, to 4 straight NFC Championship games, taking the Chiefs to the AFC Championship game last year. I just wouldn't like this matchup all too much for those reasons. Again, not saying that we can't beat the Chiefs, just saying that these are the reasons why I wouldn't like them. Again, guys, if you haven't hit that thumbs up button, hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to this channel. Gonna have you covered for the game this Saturday between the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and again, leave a comment. We already talked about if the Bills finish the 3 seed, who would we rather play, right? We're talking about now if the Bills finish with the 5 seed, who would we rather play? Again, the Bills could be the 2nd, 3rd, or 5th seed going into week 16 of the NFL season, so a lot to be determined. So stay with me here. Just talk about the Chiefs. If we were to finish the 5 seed, do we want to play the Chiefs? Or would you rather play the Texans? Why would we want to play the Texans? Well, currently, the Texans are only 4-3 at home this season, so they don't have that great of a home record. We know that we can go in there and beat those guys, right? Our defense travels well. We know that we are 5-1 currently on the road with our last road game coming up this Saturday. We know that our defense, as most defenses do, travels well. And again, as I talked about with the Chiefs, a team that we would love to play is a team that has a high octane passing attack. You look at Will Fuller, you look at DeAndre Hopkins, and you say they have a high octane offensive passing attack, and you want to neutralize that, and that's what this defense would do. Another reason why we want to play the Houston Texans, Bill Bryant's playoff record, opposite of Andy Reid, not that good. 1-3 in the playoffs. He's had good teams in the past, include that it contained DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson and Will Fuller, never able to put it together. And the Houston Texans have the fewest sacks out of all the AFC playoff teams. And again, we talk about Allen under pressure not doing well. This would bode well for Allen, getting some time in the pocket, that offensive line giving him time to pick apart the Houston Texans defense when he needed to. Why don't we want to play them? We talked about this earlier in the wild card, explosive offense, J.J. Watt possibly come back. And you want to talk about a little added advantage. J.J. Watt not only coming back, but J.J. Watt coming back at home in the wild card round of playoffs. No thank you. Would want to stay away from that. We talked about it with the Chiefs. I would say the same thing with the Texans. The Texans, this would be the furthest out of the 3 teams to travel to. And again, they would be out of the time zone. And out of these 3 teams, they have the best running attack, 7th in the league. So that's why we would not want to play the Houston Texans. Going to the Tennessee Titans, why would we want to play the Tennessee Titans? Again, we talked about this a little bit with the wild card scenarios, familiar with Tannehill, the worst overall roster out of these 3 teams. You can't deny that this Tennessee Titans team, has the worst roster out of the Chiefs, out of the Texans, out of the Titans. We talk about Ryan Tannehill, probably the worst of these 3 quarterbacks between Mahomes and Watson and Tannehill. You'd want to play Tannehill most out of all those 3 quarterbacks. So that is why we would want to play the Titans. Also got to look at their coaching staff. Mike Vrabel, this would be his first playoff game. We know that playoff experience matters. If we could get a playoff rookie head coach at least, then that would bode well for us, as Coach McDermott's already been in a playoff atmosphere type game. So that's why we would want to play the Titans. Why wouldn't we want to play the Titans? They would be the hot team coming in, right? If they win the division and make it as a 3 seed, that means they would have beaten, as a 4 seed, that means they would have beaten the Saints and beaten the Texans heading into the playoffs. So obviously, we wouldn't want to mess with that. We would not want to mess with that if we could avoid it. You talk about Derrick Henry. Again, talk about him with the wild card situation. You would want to avoid playing Derrick Henry if you could. And they have a +6 turnover differential, so they can turn the ball over on you, create extra possessions. So those are some reasons why we would not want to play the Tennessee Titans. If I were to rank these, however, I would put the Titans as the #1 team I'd want to play. I'd put Titans at 1. I might surprise you here. I have the Chiefs at 2, and then all these 3 teams, the last team I'd want to play as a 5 seed heading to the 4 seed would be the Houston Texans. I'm not sure about that team. Obviously, if they're hot, and you can't do anything about that. I feel like we have a better chance neutralizing the Chiefs in an open field where, again, the snow, the cold could be a factor. We saw the cold be a factor in the Denver game for the Chiefs last week. Could become a factor again if it were cold and snowing in January in Kansas City. So for that reason, I have the Chiefs 2, the Houston Texans 3. I just think we would have a better chance against the Chiefs. But again, I think the Bills could beat all 3 of these teams. So if you were listening earlier this video, we talked about if we made it as a 3 seed, who would we want to play as a wild card team? My rankings were Steelers 1, Texans 2, Titans 3. And then if we are the away team, if we are the wild card team as the 5 seed, Texans move up to 1. I would rather play Titans Titans move up to 1. I'd rather play Titans out of all these 3 teams. And then the Chiefs are 2, Texans are 3. Let me know if you agree in the comment section or not. Would you want to play those teams in that order, or do you have a different order in this edition of Buffalo Bills Would You Rather? Again, a lot left to be decided, and again, it starts this Saturday afternoon when the Buffalo Bills go into New England to hopefully beat the evil empire of the New England Patriots. We'll have you covered right here on Believers Talk, so make sure you tune in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that notification bell as we talk to you guys. Join the conversation, hang out with Bills Mafia. If you don't have NFL Network, it's a great way to catch the game and feel like you're not missing any of the action. So I hope you guys join me on Saturday. I hope to talk to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.